she said to me, "Are you happy with the sex? Are you happy with the sex?" Now, if your partner asks you that question, the answer must be, yeah, it's fucking great, love. Yeah, I love it. Yeah, every 8 weeks is loads, actually, do you know? Do you have to pull my hair so much? Something like that. That's what I should have said. That's what I wanted to say. That's what I really genuinely wanted to say. But what I actually said was, I'd love a threesome. I'd love a threesome. I don't know why I said that. I swear to this day, I don't know why I said that. It was an accident. I didn't mean it. But then she said to me, I know. I said, how the fuck do you know? How do you know? And she said, because I was on your laptop this morning. Oh. Right. And I was thinking about what to say, you know, and then she said, I've one organised for us. I can sense the shock now going through you. I was like, what? What do you mean you've one organised for us? She goes, look, I know you've been through hell the last couple of years, you know. I know it's been tough for you. You had to park your career, you're minding the kids, and this is something you want to do. And look, we're with each other, you know, the best part of a decade now. And if this is what you want to do, then fuck it, let's do it, let's do it, you know. And I was like, well, if you want to, you know what I mean? Whatever, well, yeah, you know, well, yeah, really? And she goes, yeah, let's do it, And I said, all right, son. But I have a few rules. 3 rules. I was like, grand job, no bother. What's the first rule? She said, the first rule is, I just don't want to do it here. I don't want to do it here. I said, grand job, give your sister a ring, I'll book an Airbnb in Kenturk. Her sister's here as well tonight. And I was like, and she said, no, you fucking idiot. I don't want to do it here. You could fart in Mallow and they'll smell it in Dublin, do you know what I mean? We're going to go away. We're going to do it away. I'm after booking us a weekend away in London. We're going to stay in a little borough called Shepherd's Bush. And we're going to tell everybody that we're going to a soccer match. We're going to go to an Everton soccer match. Everton were playing in London the next day, all right? And she had booked tickets under the guise of that. That was what we were going to do. Nothing about a threesome, which I would have gladly put up online. I said, look, no bother, that's fine. I said, what's the second rule? And she said, look, the second rule is I don't actually want to be in the threesome. I was like, what? I said, that's a fucking twosome, love. I've had 7 or 8 of them, you know. And I've had thousands of onesomes. She goes, no, you fucking idiot. She goes, I don't want to be in it, but I'm after organising it for you. And I was like, what do you mean you're after organising it for me? She goes, I'm after booking. And I was like, what the fuck does that mean? I'm after booking 2 ladies of the night. I was like, what? Two ladies of the what? She goes, I'm after getting 2 prostitutes. I was like, what? She goes, don't worry, they're high-class prostitutes. I was like, we can't afford that. She goes, I'm after getting a great deal on them. I was like, what do you mean you're after getting a great deal on them? What kind of a deal did you get? She said, I asked them how much they were. They said they were €1,000 an hour. I said, my Connie will only need 3 minutes maximum. And I appreciated her exaggerating as well, to be honest, you know. I was like, all right, okay. And I said, what's the third rule? So, love, what's the third rule? And she said, look, the third rule is the most important rule of the whole lot. She goes, as long as you're doing stand-up comedy across the country, I never, ever, ever want you to tell this story on stage. And I never will, yeah? Not my style. So that's what the 2 suitcases were packed for, lads. That's what they were packed for. And the next morning, we were off to fucking London, right, to go and see a football match, all right? And I never forget, we got up to the airport, Stansted, into Sunderland, down to Birmingham. Just in time for the match. And Everton won as well. Hey, I had to make something up in this fucking story. And we were meeting these 2 girls in a gay bar, right, after the match, okay, in Shepherd's Bush. I don't know if you've ever been there. There's a gay bar ran by a woman from Clare called the Bush Bar, and I thought that was a great name for a lesbian bar now, you know, all right? And I remember the match was over, and myself and Noel, we'd been drinking now all day. We were drinking the Prosecco and the Mate and all that kind of racket, okay? There was no dada now here. There was no dada. We were going all out, right? And the match was over, and we were in a black taxi, and we were flying through the streets of London, zipping through the streets of London, and all the ambers and oranges and reds and greens, and, you know, we were full of drink, and I don't know, whatever happened anyway, we were holding hands. We just kind of glanced at each other, and we started kissing, right? Like we had been 12 years earlier when we'd first gone out with each other, you know, shifting, a good fucking Irish shift. Load of tongue and everything, like, do you know what I mean? Spit and all that racket. Locked, we were locked. You know? And like, I don't know what happened, something came over me and I was like, fucking hell, I just felt full of life and full of just vitality, and I was like, fucking life is for living, like, you know? Life is for living. And you have to do shit, you have to get up and go and do shit and make stuff happen, you know? And I remember the taxi came into Shepherd's Bush, right? And I saw the pub, and if you're ever there, you'll see it. A big, massive green door, big, huge green door, and a taxi outside it pulled off, leaving a space for our taxi to pull in. I was like, God wants this threesome to happen. You know? And our taxi pulled in, right, into that space outside the door, and I took out my wallet, and I tapped to pay, and I stepped out of the car. And I turned to take my wife's hand, but as I turned, I caught her eye, just like I'm catching your eye there now, all right? And I saw, in a tiny amount of time, she didn't want this threesome to happen at all. I could see pain. She was only doing it for me, and me alone. And if she could get out of this situation right now, she would. I saw all that now in half a second. Fuck eyesight. I couldn't believe it. Like, we were so, like, literally, I could almost touch the door, you know? I could almost touch the door. And I remember looking at the door, and then I remember looking back at Noel. And I said to myself, I'll have one more look at that door. And then I turned around to look at Noel again. And I told the taxi driver to take us back to the hotel. And then Noel said, "Get in there and ride them 2 whores now!" I said, "I won't." "Well, get in there and get my fucking deposit back, so." I said, "They can hold on to the €30. And she was sitting beside me and she was all confused. Right? She was like, "Ah." And all I could feel, right? All I could feel at that stage was gratitude, right? And it's all about gratitude. No, that's what they're saying. Like, everything's about gratitude. You had to be gratitude, you know? But that's what I felt. I was absolutely full of gratitude. I was really grateful, you know? Because if she'd been on my laptop the day before, we'd be off to Thailand.